Today on the podcast, we have got another amazing rider. She won her national tour at the start of the year. She came 7th in the Tour de France Femmes, and she's an incredibly talented and driven rider. She is Sarah Gigante.
Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me on. I listened to a couple of your podcasts. Really enjoyed the one with Pfeiffer Georgie. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Oh wow, that's actually stunned me that someone's listened for a fact. Like genuinely, like I see numbers and I'm like, oh, people do actually listen. And sometimes like it'll bum me out if it's not not many, and but still I'm like, actually just one person listening's amazing, and I'm hugely grateful. So I'm glad to hear you enjoyed it. And now we can add your name to the list. And what a name to add! Like, I don't even know where to start. Like, the most obvious place would be, how did you get into cycling? And let's go for that. So yeah, how did you get into cycling?
Yeah, so basically, my family, I grew up in a very outdoorsy, active family, and I was the youngest of three kids. So 7 and 9 years younger. So I was always, chasing them around, my brother and sister. And every year we used to go on a family and schools ride in November, so coming into summer, called the Great Victorian Bike Ride. And basically, the trucks would take your bags and tents from town to town, rural towns. This is
Mm.
like the middle of nowhere, and uh, all the people would ride. Yeah, so school groups or families with young kids, sometimes just adults coming along. You make friends if you turn up alone. Like, it's a really, really good environment, and it's still going now. And it started well before I started in 2005, when I was 5 years old. So yeah, I did it with my mum on a trailer bike first,
Mm.
because it's about, back then when I did it, I think it was 700, 800 kilometers over 9 days or so. So quite far. Some of the rides, it got up to like 120 kilometers in a day, and then there was one rest day. So yeah, I did it on a trailer bike. So I didn't have to pedal, but I could pedal if I wanted to. And yeah, I remember my mum would tell me when a school group went past, she'd be like, "Zoom, zoom, Sarah," and then I'd pedal really hard so she could get in the draft. Or if she needed to uh, have my help to get up a steep hill, then "Zoom, Sarah," and then I'd pedal. But I do remember sometimes I'd just chill. I had my soft toys on my handlebars, just enjoy the view. And
Oh.
then I came back the next year on a tandem, and the year after also on a tandem. So then I did have to pedal, but I used to put my feet up on the top tube if I was tired, and poor mum didn't know. And then she'd be like, "Sarah, are you pedaling? This feels really hard." And I'm like, "Oh," she noticed. So yeah, I did it on a tandem. And then after that, I was 7 years old, and I said, "Next year, I want to do it on my own bike. I'm sick of looking at your backside." I said something like that. And yeah, it was a long way for a to be 8 year old. So she agreed, but she Googled cycling clubs for kids in Melbourne. And yeah, for kids, and the most family friendly club came up, the Brunswick Cycling Club. It was quite a long way away from where we lived. We lived right on the outskirts of the city, and this one was much more inner city. But it said it was the best for kids and just for having fun, great for families. So yeah, she put my mountain bike in the back of the car, and we drove into the city to this velodrome. Pulled out the bike, and the guy running the clinic said, "No, no, no, you need a real bike." And instead of letting me use my mountain bike, he gave me this track bike with one gear and no brakes, and you had to keep pedaling. You couldn't freewheel. So
God.
yeah, and I had missed like I said, the racing started at 9, so we turned up just before 9, and I'd missed the hour of track time you could have before the racing. Just we didn't know. So all the other kids had been like zooming around, and my very first lap of the track was the 30-second challenge, which is a 1 lap time trial. The bigger kids, you could be up to 15 years old, and the bigger kids used to try and beat 30 seconds. And to give you an idea of just how slow I was in that very first race, I took 1 minute 28 seconds, I think it was,
Wow.
for just over 300 meters. So, yeah, I mean, it was my first lap of the track, but still, I did have my own grade for a while when I moved to the indoor velodrome. Normally, just the older kids and faster kids went to the indoor velodrome, but this clinic only ran over the summer, and we turned up in February for the first time. And when I heard that there was no more clinic until November, I was like, no, no, no. Like, I've fallen in love. I can't just like stop now that I know this exists, because I didn't know cycling
Yeah.
was a sport before that. So yeah, I'm like, no way, I'm not waiting till November. So I got to go to the indoor velodrome earlier, and when I was still much more slow than the other kids, but I loved it so much. I think for a while I just had Sarah grade, and I just do 3 time trials a week rather than scratch races and points races. But then eventually I made it to D grade, and that was a good day.
Oh, nice. Because is Brunswick the same as Ruby's at? Like Ruby
Yeah,
Roseman
yeah.
Gannon was.
Ruby Roseman Gannon, Luke Plapp. There's
Oh
a lot of
gosh.
us. It's a really good club, and it's really funny because honestly, out of all the clubs in Melbourne, and there are a lot of clubs, I'd say, especially when I was growing up there as a junior, we were the least focused on results. But then we seemed to have the best results. We were all just having so much fun, and the atmosphere was so fantastic. Like sometimes we'd at our like not real racing, but just, training racing on the weekend, we'd like randomly just race around the velodrome the opposite direction, or in a Madison, like the adults and kids were all together, and they'd put like this huge like the biggest 35-year-old man would have to go with me when I was like 10, and I'd try and sling him. I'd pretty much just like tap his hand, but then when he slung me in, I'd like fly around half the track. Like, and I was only just learning, and I still got to do Madisons. Or in points races, we used to get bonus points if we grabbed a sanger, so a sausage in bread with tomato sauce and onion. Extra points for onion, I think it was. Yeah, we'd get like 10 points if we could eat that during the race, which it actually is harder than it sounds. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we had some awesome memories growing up there.
Well, I think in some ways, like it's the happiness that keeps you coming. Like if it's just kind of, I don't know, like if it's all about results, especially at a young age, then it's like where's the passion going to come from? If you make
Yeah,
it fun,
exactly.
then it
Yeah.
keeps you coming regardless. Like it makes those hard yards feel worth it and feel
Yeah, and we all made
exciting.
like such good friends. And I mean, obviously, not everyone went on to become a pro cyclist or wanted to become a pro cyclist, but the proportion of people that still ride bikes, even if it's just, they commute to work when maybe they wouldn't have done otherwise, just because they still have that love for the bike. Or maybe they still come on Thursday nights to motivating, like once every 3 months, just turn up, say hi to everyone, get on for the 35K an hour. So it's like 35K an hour, then 40 for the next hour, then
Oof.
45 hour of power, and you try and take laps if you can. It's so fun. But yeah, like the spread of abilities there is just so cool. We have little kids going around on the duckboard. Meanwhile, like I've seen Luke come on his time trial bike, like off the back of the bunch, and other people are trying to sprint for the point every 10 laps, and others are taking laps and or trying to help juniors take laps, which is, I think that's the hardest job. It's so fun. It's just everyone turns up and everyone's friendly to everyone.
Yeah, and you said like not everyone wanted to become a pro cyclist, but for when did you go, ah, yeah, this is what I want my career to be? Has there ever even been that point, or have you just kind of fallen into it just by, not by chance, but you know what I mean, just by like, you never really chased it ridiculously hard, but you've made it, and
Yeah,
I
I'd
mean,
say more the latter. I
yeah,
definitely always strive to be the best I could possibly be, but I was very focused on where I was at. Like, I thought when I was under 13s, then the under 13 state championships, that was all I cared about. And I thought it was so huge. And when I was under 15s and I could race in the National Junior Track Series, then I really, really wanted to win the National Junior Track Series. But and all the way up. And I just kind of, when I got to under 19s, then I still wanted to like be the best I could in my age group. And then I got to go to Junior Worlds, and I think that was the first time I like it opened my eyes to like international racing, and also that was also when I had been teammates with Grace Brown, and she'd just been picked up by the High Five development team and gone to Europe. Yeah, I can't quite remember the program they had, but some of my older teammates and mentors had just gone to Europe for a stint. But until then, I didn't really know anything about pro cycling. Like I remember watching the men do the Tour de France a little bit, like TV highlights in the morning. But I wasn't too interested in that. I did love watching the Olympics. Every 4 years, I would watch like every bit of the Olympics, especially the women's track cycling. Maybe I watched the road race, but I maybe just because there was more track on the TV. I do remember watching like Annette Edmondson and Anna Mears on TV, but it was so rare. I didn't really consider it as a job. But then again, if you go back to, Mum saved some of my school exercises from when I was any age over 8, which is when I started racing at Brunswick. Then I would say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I think from maybe 8 to 10, it still said plastic surgeon, and that is it's because I split my head open when I was a little kid on the corner of the table on my mum's birthday, and the plastic surgeon, because it was not for vanity, but my face was like fully split open, and the plastic surgeon was so nice. So then I just got it in my head that I was going to be a plastic surgeon just because this person was so lovely. But yeah, I think when I was like 9 or 10, then the answers all suddenly changed. I went from plastic surgeon, like every single answer plastic surgeon, and then every single answer after that was pro cyclist. So
Wow.
I didn't know it was really a thing or how to get there, but I always just wanted to be the best I could. And yeah, when I won the Elite Nationals in 2019, then I got to go overseas to America and then to Europe. And that was the first year, like midway through that year, then that was the first year I was like, well, okay, how can I actually become a pro cyclist now? And then I sent out my resume to like 20 teams. I got one reply and it was a no, maybe 2 replies. They were both no's. It was pretty hard, but then, yeah, someone I knew from my American trip was really nice, and they got me in contact with Linda Jackson. I think she'd missed my email when I sent my email to everyone, but then because someone reached out to her personally, then we set up a meeting, and then after that I was a pro cyclist. But yeah, I think 2019 was the first time I was like, okay, sit down and work out how can I make this happen.
Yeah. When you mentioned the Olympics, I got really excited because I was like, oh yeah, I could mention Sydney. And then I realized that you're too young for like you're
I
younger
was
in the Sydney
born,
Olympics.
like 2 months after that, I
Yeah.
think.
Like the only thing that they like Commonwealth Games maybe in 2006, but again you'd have been 6. Like and Gold Coast is coming up, I think.
Yeah, we
And
have
like
the Brisbane Olympics in 2032. We were
yeah.
meant to have the Commonwealth Games in 2026, and that would have been so cool because they were meant to be in the state that I come from in Victoria. But I don't know, I listened to a podcast today actually, and I heard the writer saying Glasgow has accepted the Com Games. I don't know if I meant to Google it, but I was writing, so then I didn't. Yeah, I'll have to do that after this podcast. But I will be glad if the Com Games aren't cancelled altogether because that would have been really sad.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know enough about it to really understand what's going on, but definitely worth Googling. I will find out, and even as people are listening to this bit, if I found something, then I'll put a Google result up here, just so people can have a quick
I
read.
could be totally wrong,
Yeah,
but yeah,
who knows
maybe.
really, but information will be abound. So yeah, what has happened is that the Gold Coast v Victoria Commonwealth Games bid, or that was planned, they've pulled out citing financial reasons, which now means that the onus on hosting it, or I guess the city that is going to host it and has stepped in, is Glasgow, but it's going to be heavily reduced So there's no road cycling, there's no time trialing. It is just track cycling as far as cycling goes. I believe badminton's been removed amongst others. So yeah, it's a very weird situation and does call into question the very future of the Commonwealth Games. But the current situation as we know it is track cycling will continue, but road cycling will not in the next iteration of the Commonwealth Games. Now back to Sarah and me. So you joined was it Tibco Silicon Valley Bank, I want to
Yeah,
say?
yeah, in
Um,
2020.
yeah, and then you moved over to the Movistar team. Um, before now you found your home, quote unquote home, like your current
Mm.
team, AG Insurance Sudal, and I've probably misremembered the name, but
No,
like,
no, all
what
good.
was that like? What was that journey like, and what kind of swayed you in each direction? Like, because obviously when you're signing for a team, I assume there's multiple offers and there's decisions to be made about, like, do you go for the culture? Do you go for, like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's so
Yeah,
many
yeah, for sure.
influencing factors.
And
What is it
it's
for
such
you?
a big consequence of your decision too.
Mm,
It's not like or option A or option B, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It doesn't matter.
yeah,
It does matter.
yeah.
Everything's different. With Tipco, I didn't have any other options, but I was so happy there. I really am lucky that that was my first team. Linda Jackson was amazing, and our DS, Rachel Hill, our mechanic, Adrian, like all the riders, of course, as well. They were really experienced, even though it was a quite a small continental team. Yeah, we had some really great riders, and everyone was just lovely. No pressure on that team, but still some good race opportunities. It's just, yeah, it was a bit unfortunate. I didn't get to race much myself overall, just because of COVID in 2020, and then
Mm,
in 2021 I had a bad crash and I broke a few bones, so I missed a lot of racing there. And then I had a like a heart inflammation for the second half of the year. So actually, I didn't end up racing nearly as much as I wanted to with them. But yeah, I'll always be grateful to Linda and Rachel. Yeah, I got to go to the Olympics thanks to that team. So yeah, that was really special. It was just after that, I had a really good summer in Australia in 2021. So
mm,
during those 2 years, and yeah, I got more interest then because of the good Australian summer. And yeah, I guess looking back now, Tipco turned into EF. I think it was called EF Education First, maybe in 2021. Tipco, maybe still.
yeah.
I don't know. Had a few names, but it was a really awesome team, world tour and everything. But I guess there was a bit of uncertainty when I was talking to the team mid 2021 because like they had these grand plans, but like you couldn't see it yet. Whereas
Hmm.
with Movistar, it was already really established, and Annemiek van Vleuten was racing there and smashing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really looked up to Annemiek. I'd say she was probably my hero. So to be able to race alongside her and learn so much from her and hopefully help her a lot, that really drew me to Movistar. And also, I thought like it would be fun to learn Spanish, and yeah, it was really good. But unfortunately, yeah, again, I didn't have that many race days for a couple of reasons. And I raced with Annemiek twice and didn't even go like on a training camp with her, apart from one. But we were separated in groups in little bubbles because it was the start of 2022 and
Oh, of course,
there was
yeah,
COVID around the camp. So yeah, actually after all that and
yeah.
moving to Movistar, a lot of it because of that, I didn't actually spend more than a handful of days with Annemiek, but yeah, it was still a good experience. But then, yeah, I just wanted to race more and be picked for more races, and I guess it was more like being a tiny fish on a in a big ocean. Uh,
Yeah.
so when I had the yeah last season, I just really was itching to race again, and like I'd had some injuries and stuff and illness before that, so I just felt like everyone was thinking I wasn't racing because of me, but actually I was really fit and I wanted to race, and it was just hard to get selected in the latter half of last year. So yeah, I was just like, nah, I just have to race. Like, I love training, but enough is enough. I want to
Yeah.
race, and I want to show to myself that I'm back, because yeah, it had been like a few years of like quite tough times. So yeah, I just decided to take the big step of leaving Movistar, which was hard because they were really lovely to me. All the riders and staff were so amazing, and I had some really good opportunities. It was just, yeah, I couldn't bear the thought of not racing much for another year, and missing out on nationals and the Tour Down Under and Cadals. I just just way too enthusiastic about racing. So they completely understood. I think it was the best for both of us, because I wasn't really helping them either because I wasn't racing much. So they were nice and they let me go. And then I found a new team after that. My agent was amazing. I think it was pretty hard so late in the year, but yeah, I was planning, if I didn't get a team, then I was all set anyway. Like, at least for the very start of the year, I was going to race nationals on my own, and then Tour Down Under and Cadals with the national team. I even bought a time trial bike, which was
Oh
very
wow.
expensive. But yeah, I was all in. I just wanted to show that I was back. So I did all that, but then yeah, actually I was so happy. I had I guess Natasha. Oh no! Now that I've said her first name, I have to say her last name. But all the girls make fun of me because I say it wrong when I say Savas's name. Savas Carnarvon, is that how you say it? And
Mm.
Natasha, yeah, Natasha really saved me, and she took a chance on me. I mean, it's hard enough to be signed when you have no results, but when you have no races either, then it's
Yeah.
even harder. So yeah, I'm just so grateful that she took a chance and signed me. She just listened to my story basically and gave me a shot. And yeah, to come out at nationals really fit was so cool. But then when I actually got to race, which I also have to mention, I had a Australian teammate at nationals, Anya Lau, and we've grown up
Mm.
racing together. So yeah, that was already so special to race alongside Anya, and she was really selfless and strong. And yeah, it was so fun as well, just having a teammate by my side. But then when I got to the Tour Down Under and met the rest of the girls, met the staff, I knew instantly, like from the first like hour, that I'd made such a good decision. And I mean, since then I've hardly been able to wipe the smile off my face. Like, I absolutely love it. It's such an amazing team, such a good environment, and I've had really the best year ever. Like, so much fun and so many opportunities, and I've really surprised myself as well with results, and I've got my confidence back for sure, and I'm already so excited for next year.
Oh, that's amazing. And there's so many things I want to talk about just from those couple of answers already. I don't know what's best to go for, but I guess actually, yeah, you said you were all in. You wanted to make a huge impression. I think you really did, if I'm honest, because you won the Tour Down Under. Winning that final stage at Willunga Hill. Which is that the one that is in the men's Tour Down Under?
Yeah,
That's like
Richie
Richie
Port
Port
always
Hill.
won.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in my head, I'm just like, it's Richie Port Hill. Like, I know it's called Willunga, but it's not. It's Richie Port's Hill. And then even like later in the year, like 7th in the Tour de France Femme, like that's not easy to do. Like, you can't just rock up on a sort of wing and a prayer and just hope. Like, you have to be seriously good to get a result like that. But like, how did it feel winning the Tour Down Under? I guess is one question, and then secondly, like, how do you even measure success for yourself? Like, is it in these victories, or is it in just knowing you've done a good ride, or that you're even just happy? Like, how is success for you?
Okay, so I'll start with the first
Yeah, of
question
course.
because that second one is pretty big. Um, it really felt like definitely happiness and joy at winning, but that was like 1% of the emotion. I think it was like so much relief. I guess just the last couple of years had been so hard, and like, you try not to take other people's opinions into account too much unless they're positive. But I had heard from a lot of people or read some things like that made me feel I guess in the interview I did after, it kind of summed it up well. I said it's hard when you're 23 and everyone thinks you're washed up. And okay, it's a bit dramatic, but at the time, that's really what it felt like. It wasn't everyone, but it did feel like, you know, I was old news and everyone had kind of given up on me. And I had almost not completely given up, or I wouldn't have done all those things. I wouldn't have, trained the house down and left for my team to have a chance to race, or bought a time trial bike, everything like that. But I had definitely lost a lot of confidence. So yeah, I had put a lot of pressure on myself to do well at nationals. That was something that was completely in my control, especially the time trial. So I trained so hard for that time trial, and then it's still heartbreaking now just thinking about it. But like just a minute before the start, then I realized my time trial bike wasn't working. The gears just randomly stopped. It wasn't flat, so just so it's not my fault. It was just really bad luck. Yeah, I had gearing issue, and I just had to jump on my road bike, actually the Movistar bike. So completely just randomly had the bike there. I think my mum was holding it, and I just jumped on the road bike and did the time trial on that. But as you can imagine, you lose a lot of time on a road bike over 40 minutes. Like, it didn't even have race wheels or anything, and it was just really felt like I was in a nightmare that whole 40 minutes, because I live maybe an hour and a half away from the course, and I had gone there like every week for a couple months and like done the recon, like often full gas, and it just felt like, surely this can't be real. Like, out of all the times I've been doing this, like, this is the real one that counts. And yeah, it's just gone worse than I could even imagine. So that was just really, really hard. And then, I mean, the road race, I didn't have any problems, and Anya was great, but I just got out sprinted in a group. I think 10 people out sprinted me. I couldn't get away on the hill. I felt really good, but I guess I had a lot of pressure on myself for those two, because I thought after that I wouldn't really have a chance anymore. Like in the past, I guess European racing is so hard, and same with when the Europeans come to Australia. Like, I kind of just counted myself out of the Tour Down Under and Cadels, even though I was fit. I just thought that was too hard, and I thought nationals was something that I had won before, and I believed I could win nationals, and I didn't. I got like 11th in both. So then I was so upset, because not because of the results necessarily, just because I thought that was my chances done, to show to myself and to other people that I was back. I remember like my bike fitter, he was really nice, because he'd seen how much work I'd put in to like, he helped me organize all the different parts for a TT bike, because I had to build it up from scratch. It was so over my head and complicated. So he knew what I'd put into it, and he said, "No, don't worry. Like, you got the Tour Down Under just in a few days." I'm like, "Yeah, but I can't do well at the Tour Down Under." But then, yeah, it was just like, I got to the Tour Down Under, and I was in that amazing environment. I forgot about nationals, and I really believe Savas when he sat us down for the team meeting and said we're going for GC, as well as Ali Welliston. Took the first stage, which was incredible. But yeah, just to have that belief, and none of the other girls questioned him. Like, everyone was like, "Okay, cool, we're going for Sarah for GC." And yeah, I guess I'd never felt so much trust in me, especially just straight off the bat. And everyone else believing in me helped me believe in myself. And it just went so well. And yeah, I got to the top of the hill, and it was just like everything had gone well, even though it hadn't quite, like, it finished well, but there were echelons in the one stage that was meant to be the easy stage for me, which is basically like flat, and then you go up a hill at the end. Like, that's perfect. But there were echelons, so that was not perfect. I got dropped, and my teammates had to like babysit me. They were so good. Like, it was such a team effort. But yeah, and then there was this massive headwind on the climb, which is also bad for me, because I wanted to attack from the bottom and drop everyone, which is harder when there's like, I don't know, it felt like 50k an hour headwind, like straight at me. but yeah, when I got to the top and I was solo and I realized I'd won, it was just all that relief just came. And yeah, I guess it just felt like surreal, but in a good way. It was like the opposite of the time trial. Like both times I was just like, I can't believe this is happening. I didn't even imagine either one. And yeah, it was just a crazy feeling. And it wasn't just about winning a race. Like winning a race is cool, but this was more about never giving up over like 3 really tough years. And yeah, just always believing in, not always completely believing in myself, but always still having belief and also listening to the people around me that did believe in me. Like my coach always believed in me. My mum always believed in me. Like even if it's not everyone, it doesn't matter if you listen to the right people. So yeah, it was just, yeah, the best feeling. And then as for what success means, I think when I nail the process coming into a race, like if I know that I didn't, skip sessions that I shouldn't have, or actually, what's more common for me probably is like do too much when I shouldn't have,
Mm.
or like if I nail the process and do what I know I should do and what I'm told to do, and I really, yeah, like tick off the boxes and enjoy the process, and then get to the race and know that I gave it my all and didn't make any like it's fine to make mistakes, but sometimes they're just things that you didn't know you were doing wrong at the time. Like in hindsight, oh, I shouldn't have been on this person's wheel, I should have been on that person's wheel, or oh, I shouldn't have attacked on the hill with 30k to go, I should have attacked on the hill with 26k to go. That kind of thing, that's fine. But if it's another thing, like I don't know, at Romandy, I was really disappointed because I dropped off on the descent, but I could have easily started the descent more forward. And I know that, like, if I,
Mm.
like, I struggle with descending sometimes in the wet, but if I start at the front, then I have a much better chance of keeping up than if I start at the back. So something like that, it's more like, oh, that was something that was very preventable, and I should have seen that coming. I should have done something about it. So as if I just try my best and try not to make too many mistakes that I know I could have not made, then, and I nailed the process and had a lot of fun. Um, it's not always like just fun during the race, but overall, if you have a good time, even in the process, I mean, I love training, so I find training nearly always fun, but yeah, sometimes when you have done 4 efforts and you have another one to go, then you're like, oh, is this fun? But yeah,
Mm.
if you have fun nearly all the time, that's success. And overall, as like the season, if I can look back and say, yeah, I tried my best, I had fun, I learned a lot, and I was a good teammate, then I think that's really nice to be able to say.
Yeah, definitely. And I've kind of going back to what you were saying about the Tour Down Under, like the way you were talking, it made it sound like it was more than a win. It kind of felt like almost like a triumph, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah, yeah. Well,
just
especially because I had won there once before. You know how I said I had a really good summer in Australia, and
mm,
that's how I got a few contract offers. So that was 2021. It wasn't a UCI event because of COVID, but it was a really big race in Australia, and like Jayco came, and the national team had a team. I was on the national team, and we had all our best Australian teams. And it was the first time the women had raced up Willunga rather than just the men's race. So it
mm,
was a really special day, and I'd won up there, and it was really a great day. But then I guess after that, I never really had a day like that again until this year, and it was the same hill. Like it was just really surreal. It just felt like I'd finally come like full circle. I was finally back at my very best. Like so happy, like with really like such an amazing environment and all people around me that were just so positive. And it just felt like, yeah, I'd returned to Willunga. Yeah, and I was back, and I could just forget about the last 3 years and move on, and just yeah, okay, that happened. Next, what's next? It was just, yeah, the best feeling.
oh, that's so awesome. And then yeah, obviously we mentioned the Tour de France Femme and coming seventh there. Like, is that something that you will be targeting in the future, like going for GC, or are you just, happy to see where it takes you? Like, yeah, where's your head at with that? Because like, yeah, riding for GC looks insane with all the top riders there are, but you're amongst it. Like, top 10 means that you're there or thereabouts already. And
Yeah, thanks. It was actually funny. We didn't go in as a team going for JC because our JC rider, Ashley Moorman Passio, unfortunately, she was still injured.
hmm,
Um, yeah, still injured from a crash in June, I think, in Catalonia. So, yeah, we turned up definitely hoping for a stage win and taking opportunities where we could. But for me, actually, the team said beforehand, like right beforehand, like, oh, it's actually good if you lose time because then you'll
hmm,
be more likely to be able to have a good ride on Saturday and Sunday, which were the two mountainous stages. I think they said that also because I was nervous about the Dutch stages and losing time in
hmm.
crosswinds or yeah, I really don't love the flat hectic racing, but yeah, I was a bit too stubborn. I can't quite let the bunch go when I know I can keep up. So I fought my way through every day. Although I did see the convoy a lot of times, and it wasn't because I was collecting bottles. I was just always like, getting dropped, chased back on, dropped, chased back on. And yeah, somehow I didn't even know how I ended up seventh because I felt like there were just like so many times in the race where I could have lost 30 minutes and very nearly did. But yeah, I was overall happy, especially looking back, happy. But then again, I guess I'm quite hard on myself sometimes, and I could see places where, oh, if only I didn't get dropped on the descent after Glandon before Alpe d'Huez, then I would have done a lot better. So obviously, it's easy to say if only I was better downhill. You can also say that up the hill, like, oh, if only I climbed up to where's 20 minutes faster, then I'd win. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, duh. So, I mean, I did my best and I'm happy, but I also am hungry. Yeah, I think winning at Willunga gave me a lot of confidence, but then climbing like I did up d'Huez also gave me a lot more confidence against stiffer competition. So yeah, now I'm just really excited for what's to come. I also really loved probably those two are two of my favorite races this year, but also the World Championships in Switzerland. I was so proud of myself for um, being able to do my job of getting in the early breakaway when it was really tough conditions. And yeah, I struggle like physically in the cold, but also like I knew that descent in the wet would be something I would struggle with. But yeah, I was proud of how I raced. And I think, yeah, coming back from Romandy where I was so disappointed with myself and frustrated that I got dropped on a wet descent, and then to come back to Switzerland a few weeks later and do a harder descent and be okay. Like I'm not definitely not at the front attacking, but yeah, to see that improvement. And yeah, I was just like so full of determination. Like I'm not gonna mess this up. I'm wearing the green and gold. I can do it. I can do it. And I had some great teammates around me, and my roommate Ruby Rosamond Gannon, such a positive pep talker. So yeah, I think that was a really nice race to finish on. Yeah, I guess especially because it was similar to Romandy, like both days
Mm.
were wet and in Switzerland.
Yeah.
But I was able to really see an improvement there, so that was cool. And then maybe it's recency bias, but I loved the gravel world champs
Mm.
just on Sunday. Like I had such a blast. It was so fun. Yeah, it was so good. So now I want to buy a gravel bike.
Yeah, it's kind of become the trendy thing almost, where like everyone's doing gravel now, but like it's attracting some really big hitters. You know, you know, yeah, I don't think it gets much bigger really than Mariana Vos, the goat, winning ahead
Yeah,
of.
14 world titles, hey? Amazing.
I'd love one. Just one would be like
Yeah,
would be enough
yeah,
for
can't
me.
you share them around? Bit
Yeah,
greedy.
or just a region. Like I'd honestly, I'd be happy with a regional title. Like I don't need
Mhm.
worlds. I don't need anything massive. Just, but then if you've got a regional Dutch title, then you're one of the best cyclists in the like anywhere anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
To be fair, but yeah, it looked crazy. Like, just how was it for you? Because obviously I'm not fully aware that you've done a lot of gravel cycling.
No, I
Was it
haven't.
like,
I got there 3 days beforehand, and my team really kindly arranged a gravel bike for me to borrow. So I did 4 hours of recon the first day. Actually, I got the bike at like 4 p.m. So I'd say I did 4 hours of recon the first night because, yeah, silly me, it turned into dark, and my Garmin was sending me down all these tiny muddy trails. It had just been raining, so they were really muddy, and I'm a gravel newbie, and it was more like, felt like cyclocross, but I couldn't see where I was going. I had a light, but I mean, it wasn't really helping me much with the mud. So I crashed once, and just slightly, just I was riding through the mud, and when you should actually pedal more to get through the mud, I did the opposite. I was like,
oh
oh,
yeah,
and then I just tipped over. But I was like, nah, this is silly. I need to go home on that, like the bitumen. So I pulled out Google Maps on my phone, and it was sending me a really long way to get back to the Airbnb. But I'm like, oh, it's worth it if it's bitumen and I can go at more than 10k an hour and not crash. Sounds better to me. So
yeah.
I started heading in the opposite direction, like ages away, just because it was telling me that's how I could get home. I had to put it on car mode because it was
Oh,
still
I
sending
suppose,
me
yeah.
down the muddy tracks if I went to the bike. So yeah, I put it on car mode and started heading away, like literally the opposite direction. And then I was like, okay, like half an hour later, I'm like, okay, I'm 10k from home, nearly there. It's definitely pitch black. I'm a little bit concerned because my phone's on like 5% at this stage, and I've definitely run out of food because I really underestimated how hard gravel was and how much it affected your average speed, because I was like, oh yeah, 120k, she'll be right.
Oh God,
We'll be
yeah.
fast. But then, yeah, I didn't even go 30k an hour, so that's why I really messed up the timing. Anyway, I got to like 8k's from home, and then it turned out I was going on the freeway. That's
Oh
why it
yeah,
sent
I
me
was
all the way.
thinking.
Oh, it was so bad. So I had to turn around and go back all the way back and go back on the muddy trail, and I could hardly see anything. I didn't crash, but I got home quite cold, totally with my phone on 2% and also like half bonking because by this stage I'd been out like all night. Anyway, the next day was better. I was a little bit nervous after those muddy trails about how I'd go in the race, but turns out those ones weren't on the race course. So
Oh,
they were just like muddy trails to get back to the Airbnb. So the next day in the daytime, it was so much easier when I could see. So that was good. And another 4 hours then. So by then I'd done 8 hours of gravel this year. And then, yeah, I did a couple hours the day before the race. So I managed to recon the whole course. And I said to my mum, because, yeah, I guess gravel, it's not like road, it's not funded by our national body of cycling. So I had to pay for me and my mum. And luckily I had an Airbnb grant actually, but it was like a self-funded trip. So I guess I said to him, oh, like I hope I don't get like a puncture or something like that, like 5Ks in. And then I said, but actually, even if I did, this has been such a fun trip. Like I could flat out like 5K in, and yeah, I'd be sad, but even without the race, this has been worth it. I just had like so much fun. I was really strict. I am a really strict person, I guess. And with all my training all year, so serious. I like it that way. Like I choose to be like that, but it was really nice just to go bush bashing for a few
yeah.
days. And then the race went well too. I mean, I'm still a bit sore because someone crashed in front of me on a descent, and for once I was right on the wheel. Like, of course I was
The
right
one
when
time.
someone crashed. Yeah, the one time. So I flipped over the poor Belgian girl. I hope she's okay. And but I do remember as soon as I crashed, the first thing I thought was ouch, and the second thing I thought was well, it's better crashing onto dirt than bitumen. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I really would have hurt myself because it was quite fast and I did a full like flip. But yeah, I was able to get up. The bike was fine. I chased back on, and then everything else went really well, apart from like 3K to go. We went across a little pedestrian bridge that was probably less than a meter wide, and I think two girls tried to go on at the same time, and they crashed, and the bridge was fully blocked. Like there were maybe 10 of us just sitting there, like you couldn't go around. Like we had to wait for the bridge to clear, and I mean, I don't think those two girls were worried about the race. Understandably, they were hurt. Well, not like super hurt, but they're not rushing to get back up because it's only 2 or 3Ks to go and their race was over. But and the girls around me were also like, oh, all that suffering for nothing. Like our race is over now, race done. And I was like, no, I'm going to race all the way to the line. So I chased back on, and I caught this was the bunch sprinting for 8th. I caught them with like 250 meters to go, and then they were all kind of on the left. I guess I finished 24th, and I was dead last. So not the biggest bunch, but they were all on the left side of the road. So I get there like 250 meters to go. I've been chasing back. Luckily, there's a hill. That's how that's where I caught a lot of the time. But yeah, I just caught them over the top of the hill on the flat. And I was like, oh, perfect. I'll just sprint past. But I mean, I'd done like a 5-minute max effort, and my sprint was probably like 300 watts still at the 5-minute power. And then it was working. I was going past them all, and then suddenly, like just at 200 meters to go, like 5 seconds later, they all started their sprint, and I came dead last. But I was so happy. Like I crossed the line, and the first thing I did was say that was so fun. And then I tried to convince my team to. I was like, "Oh, I'll pay if you ship the bike to Spain," because I just had a Ryanair flight just with my backpack.
Yeah.
So, and I hadn't realized that there was this big gravel Earth Series race this Sunday. But one of the friends I made, I think on the start line, her name was Gabriella from Canada. 441, I think her number was, or 443, because I was 442, and we were called up in order. But she was telling me there was a race in Girona the next week with 3,500 meters climbing, and I was like, oh, I like climbing. She's like, yeah, you should do it. So then when I got back to Girona, then I looked it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like 2 hours by public transport, like planning it all. I have still a little bit of my Airbnb voucher left. So yeah, I asked my team, I was like, oh, I'll pay if you ship the bike, I'll pay all the costs. I'd love to race. But they're like, no, off season. I was like, oh, fine. They're looking out for me, but I'm definitely bitten by the gravel bug. Maybe when I get back to Australia, then I'll be able to borrow a bike there, or maybe I'll have bought my bike by then, and then I can do a couple more races.
Yeah. Sorry if I was looking off screen. I was just trying to look up. It's possibly Gabrielle Traxler.
Yeah.
She came 88th, so she did fairly well. Given the standard of the field, I think anywhere because Neef Bradbury, I believe, was according to the result sheet on First Cycling, was the last rider over the line in 150.
To be fair to Neve, she was very selfless, and she gave up her front wheel to help her teammate, well, our teammate, but her trade teammate, Tiffany Cromwell.
Oh, of course,
Tiff got a puncture, and Neve swapped wheels with her so that Tiff would have a chance to catch up. So, yeah, good on Neve for doing that and then still managing to finish.
Yeah. But yeah, that sounds incredible. But it is now the off season. So what does the off season look like for you? Is it? I'm guessing as an Aussie, you're not going to be doing cyclocross. I could be wrong. It'd be really amazing to see. But yeah, what's the plans?
Well, I still have one more week of riding, which I mean, I think if I asked anyone if I could have the week off, they'd all say yes, have it, please. This is amazing. But no, I love training, so I'm using my last week to explore some new routes in Girona and some old ones. But yeah, as I said before, when I'm in like training mode, I'm so serious. I always do the same routes to do my efforts on the exact hill I like with the exact gradient. So I mean, today was the very first time all year, and I got here in early February. It's the first time I went and did the beach loop, which I'm sure, I feel like every pro does it like every week or two, and I just never went because it's not exactly right for my efforts. So I went there today. It was nice, and yeah, I guess just some fun rides over the next. I have 6 days left, so some fun rides, and then after that, even more fun rides, but in a different sense. I'm putting the bike away. This one is strict. My team and my coach have said definitely off the bike, but I'm happy because I'm going to Port Aventura World, which is a theme park just south of Barcelona. I live in Girona, so
Wow,
it's
yeah.
only about 2 hours away. And yeah, apparently it's one of the best in Europe. I love roller coasters, so I'm really excited. I'm going for 4 days, which is quite a long time. And then I'll have 1 day back in Girona to quickly pack, although I should probably pack before I go, but I
Yeah.
know myself, I'm not going to pack until that Saturday. And then I leave at like 3:30 a.m., I think, on the Sunday to go to team camp for 3 days. And then some aero testing on the 4th day, and then that evening fly back to Australia, and that would take 2 days in the air. So there's my off season. 4 days at team camp, 1 day in Girona to pack, 4 days of camp, 2 days of travel, and then I'll be jet lagged, so probably another day or two. And then I'm thinking 3 days after I arrive, there's a UCI gravel series called Gravelista. And I mean, I don't have a bike, and yeah, my team might say no again, but I did suggest it to my coach today. I was like, oh, if I leave on the 24th in the evening, I'll arrive on the 26th, and it's on the 27th, so plenty of time.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I feel like we've probably just got enough time to cover where people can find you, and before that, on roller coasters, because I had no idea you're such a fan. I went to Florida when I was younger. Obviously, I can't go there when I'm older because that's not happened yet. It's such a daft phrase to say that I went there when I was younger. Like, obviously, it's in the past. But anyway, yeah, I went there when I was like in my teens, I think. So I went to
Oh, awesome.
I went to like the Islands of Adventure and Universal, but also the Disney ones as well. Like, what is, I guess, also crazily because you feel like you're not great at descending, and to me that's all
I
about
know,
like
but
bravery. But you
yeah, but
love roller
descending
coasters.
isn't not nearly as safe as a roller coaster. Like, let's be real.
Well,
How many people hurt themselves on a roller coaster? Just keep that number as very low, please, because I'm not
yeah,
like completely fear free. So you don't need to start telling me about deaths on roller coasters, especially at Port Aventura World. You can tell me after I go, so that I go on all the rides. No, but I always go on all the rides. Well, to this day, this is probably the best theme park I've gone to. So might be the day I lose my streak, but no, I'm excited. Maybe it will be good descending practice. I mean, I was talking with my team about what kind of things I can do, and they they said that was it Thibaut Pinot went in a Formula One car to try and get over his fear of high speeds, and someone went like go karting. Anyway, maybe this is
yeah,
some mental training for the descents. Me going down the roller coaster and doing loop de loops.
yeah. I can see it working. Um, which theme parks have you gone to then? Just out of kind of curiosity.
Oh, well, in Melbourne, we just have some smaller ones like Luna Park. And after Kiddel's, I went to Funfields. I normally have recovery rides instead of complete days off, but I had a day off and went to Funfields
Oh
the very
wow.
day after. That was very fun. No, but when I was little, okay, I did say this will be the best theme park I've been to, but when I was small, I did go to Disneyland because my
Oh.
dad used to work a lot in America, and yeah, I think he had a lot of frequent flyer points or whatever. So
Mm.
twice I got to go to America. The first time we went to Disneyland and Universal Studios in California, and then the second time, uh, I don't quite remember. It was in like around Denver. There were also
Mm.
all these amazing water slides, like scary ones
Mm.
though too. It was so fun. But yeah, I have never gone to. We have probably the best theme parks in Australia are in Queensland. I've never gone there, but I think this will be even better. So it's exciting.
Wow.
And I mean, I was just saying it to my riding friend. I was like, "Oh, look, I'm going to Port Aventura. I'm so excited!" And he was saying, if you did that same trip, like 4 days in Queensland, if you want to stay at the hotel and stuff, it would be so much money. And I went to the site to check like how much it would cost in Queensland, and I was like, oh yeah, like $400 including tickets for 4 nights. That's pretty good. Like it's expensive, but it's actually better than what I was expecting from the way he was describing it. And then I went to the next page, not just to check out, not that I was going to buy it, but
Yeah, of course.
I just clicked on it. This was the cheapest room too. And then it said per night. And I was like, oh, like $430 per night. I thought it was okay for like the whole time. So anyway, it's definitely better to go in Spain, I think.
Yeah, sounds it for sure. So yeah, how can people keep up with you in a metaphorical sense in terms of keeping up
Oh
to
yeah,
date?
good luck keeping up in real life. No, I'm joking. Probably either Strava, Sarah Gigante, or my Instagram. I update the most. Yeah, so in terms of like the social media platforms, a little bit on Twitter. My Instagram handle is Slipstream Sarah.
Yes. They'll both be on screen right now. So if you didn't quite catch them, you can see it here, but also they'll be in the description so people can follow you kind of conveniently. And yeah, all that's left for me to say is enjoy Port Aventura. Have an amazing off season. Good luck convincing your coach to let you do gravel. Hope that goes well. And yeah, hopefully speak again soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for listening. And if you like this, then please check out all the other amazing interviews we have done. Please give this a like so more people get a chance to see it, and consider subscribing so you can see all our latest episodes when they are released.